We have a special guest from Michigan. Her name is Miss Emily Bauman, and she is running for House of Representatives in Michigan from Canton area. I forgot her district number. Please welcome to the show, and you can tell your district number too. Sorry about that. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, it's the 16th district, which covers 16th. The city of Wayne and the majority of the city of Westland.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the show. And we'd like to know a little bit more about yourself. Your career and your education and your those things, and what made you to get into politics, and what is the key point for you to run for the office.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me to this. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
My background is one where I've always had a fascination with elected offices. Even when I was younger, I paid attention to civics and paid attention to who was running. And even in my small town, I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, and I proceeded to go to college in New York, and then I transferred and went to a college here in Michigan. And in various degrees, various programs. I was in art, and then I was also in legal assisting, so I had a very strong fascination with the law offices. At the end of the day, though, I did choose to, for a period of time, like some people, just kind of go along with what I could, the different jobs. And I was always one who knew that if you market yourself well and you learn new skills and new things, you can actually become a much stronger employee and a much stronger person for a company. And so I spent a majority of my time actually in telecommunications with a company that moved me from New York to Michigan and Colorado. And I spent, with my husband, we spent 12 years in Colorado. And that's where we actually started our first business. We had a landscape business in Colorado and had that for 5 or 6 years. And then my husband decided he wanted to change careers and become a school teacher in phys ed, which brought us back to Michigan. The Michigan trip, so I've actually lived in Michigan 3 different times. My parents are both born and raised in Michigan, so I spent every summer in Michigan growing up. And now this is in my life, this is my 18th year in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And my husband graduated from Wayne State last year with a phys ed in teaching, teaching degree in phys ed. And now I got connected and realized that it was my turn to step into running for elected office, because partly I call it the spark had been churning and it was lighting. And then last fall I started working with some friends with their campaigns, and then earlier this year I started working on a congressional campaign, and the spark just blew and kind of grew, and realized I started looking at different things, and I started looking at what was going on in the world, what was going on in my city, and realized this is my chance. This is my time. Why wait? There's nothing. I'm a personal development and life coach, and I teach people that if you have a goal, if you have a dream, if you have a thought that you want to do something, why wait? And so that's what got me into it this year.
Very nice. Nice to know about your background and the motivation to run for the office, which is nice. So just I want to ask you one general question right now. COVID-19 is going on. It's pandemic is everywhere, all over the world, except few countries were able to manage it a little better. And so what is your view on COVID-19 situation especially in the Wayne County or the district in which you are in, and our state, and then in the nation in general?
So,
and how it has been, handled by the different officers. Okay, let me put it that way.
Coronavirus is a real virus. I do understand that, and I've maintained that it's a real virus. There's a lot of viruses that we have in our world that we have to manage or fight, as it were. What I found myself doing this year, and again, which contributed to my decision to go and run for office this year, was asking questions like, why? Why is this the one that took us to where we are today? Why didn't the ones over the last several years be the ones? I don't have that answer. I'm going to be honest, I don't have the answer, but I just asked the question, why is it this one? What is it different about this particular virus that took us to a point that we are where we are today? And I'm going to be honest, I can't answer that question alone, but I do know that I want to be part of the answer. I want to be part of the solution as to, now that we are where we are, how do we get to a better place? How do we get to a place that says we have recovered from all of the things that happened? And ultimately, that's my position on COVID. I realize I have a feeling, my core value is that I respect and honor the people that are serving in our offices. That's part of our government is there, and I do respect their offices, and I do my best to appreciate and understand what they're doing. I also know that as a citizen, it's my job to also help keep them in check and to be part of the asking for transparency, asking for accountability, asking for the understanding as to why this was the one that took us where we are today. And again, I want to be part of the answer and solution. And I think I've got the ability to do that.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's your stand and that's your view and that's your perspective, which is good enough. And at the same time, the COVID-19 has created havoc on the health and health systems in the country. At the same time, it has created affected another community, a small business. And that's many restaurants are kind of struggling, small businesses are struggling. If you look at the footprint to the retail stores, I mean, there's less number of people going to the retail stores too. Most of the things are getting done on the online. So with that, I mean, the small business, local businesses are not able to generate enough revenue and survive. So with these things, so what if you are elected? What is that you want to? How do you want to help or revive? What policies do you propose? I know you will not be able to solve everything by yourself. I mean, it's not. I mean, one representative cannot solve and fix it. So, what is your idea? But what kind of ideas will you bring to the table? What's your view on that one? Sorry.
Yes. Having been a small business owner myself, what I would like to see for going forward is the opportunity for people to continue to be able to step into small businesses and to be able to help those businesses thrive. One of the things as a business coach that we talk about is that so many businesses can't make it for the first 5 years. And whatever I can do to be able to help them get through those first 5 years and then into 10 years. And I think it's going to look a little bit different going forward, but anything that we can do so that legal businesses can actually have the opportunity to thrive and support their families and support their employees, I want to do whatever's needed to do that. And if that means that they have to get a break here and there, and maybe they get the first couple of years where they don't have to pay certain taxes or something like that, I don't know what that looks like, but at the same time, I know that I want to make sure that we don't lose that part of our economy, that we have the small and medium business opportunities so people can still do that. I believe that's a key part of our industry, and we need to make sure that it's there. So I will support and introduce legislation or opportunities or programs that allow them to actually get their businesses off and running. And maybe it's just support. Maybe it's just making sure that they have the right tools. I don't know all that it looks like, but it's basically making sure that they have the right things to be able to do this, so they're not put in a position that they would lose everything if something like this happens again.
Gotcha. So that's another thing which we need to the politicians or leaders should work on. I mean, in the future, if something like this comes up, they should be able to shield it or insulate it from these kind of situations, and especially small business or any business for that matter. Okay, and that's fair enough. There are many other things which people are talking about it. Probably we can cover them in another day. When you generate an employment, they have incentives. So the employment development department is on the department. So there are many things, but we'll come back. That's a different topic. We'll address it at the end of the program or some other day. And during the same COVID-19, we have another social issue which has come up. Especially started in Minneapolis and then spread all over the country and even some other parts of the world too. So the Black Lives Matter. So what is your view? I know at the same time, I mean, there are the people are saying that other lives matter too. I mean, we understand every life matters for sure. So what is your view, especially on the Black Lives Matter moment?
So I've thought of that a lot. I do think about that because one of the things that is important to me and something about me and is I have built, even just this small time in my campaign, in my entire life, I have built it around listening to people. And I don't call it an active listening, I call it an engaged listening. I want to hear what people have to say. I want to be able to ask them questions, and I want to be able to understand them better and just hear them. I came across a book a couple of years ago, which has been instrumental in my foundation and taking me where I am today even, and that is the idea that we really need to be looking at people as people, not as this category or this category or that category, but people as people. And it does require slowing down and actually listening to people. And I think that that's important. And so as I've gone into this and thinking about this, it's hearing what's going on, because I'm not experiencing exactly what someone else is experiencing. I don't care what color, what past, what economic, what socioeconomic they're in. I have not experienced what anyone else has experienced, and they have not experienced what I have experienced. But if we sit down and we talk about it and we listen to each other and see each other as people and not as a number, not as a category, I believe that that can change things. And that's been important to me. So giving that care and giving that attention to the situation, like I said, I can't necessarily solve the answer. There are things I definitely don't agree with. I don't believe that defunding the police is the solution for these things. There's many things that are on the list of, that people have lists of, that they say these are the solutions. I'm going to admit I don't agree with all of them, but there are some that I have to sit there and say, let's talk about this. Let's understand this a little bit more so that we can come up with a solution that really does affect and positively affect the lives.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fair enough. And at the same time, I mean, if you look at the U.S. Last few years, I mean, the decade, I mean, if you especially the gap of haves and have-nots also increased a lot in the U.S. I mean, so if you look at the even Caucasians or any other Asians or any other people, I mean, the many of people from these categories are also coming under poverty, below poverty lines too. So it's not that, I mean, other groups are also suffering, no doubt about it, but at the same time, these groups are also suffering silently, I would say. Because if I was volunteering at Red Cross and I see, I mean, when you go to the Red Cross, through Red Cross, I mean, you see different kinds of people in all demographics across the board. So what is that? I mean, do you see? I mean, do you suggest? Today's with this particular gap of haves and have-nots, that's where the Green Party movement has picked up, or Bernie Sanders movement has picked up, because I mean, free tuition and the college or free healthcare. So because the affordability has gone down and the prices has gone up. So with these things, I mean, people are interested on getting some free things. So what is your view or take on this kind of attitude or philosophy growing up in the community, and also
Well, in a brief sense, I do believe that we need to work for our food, if that's an easy way to say that. I've always believed that you need to work for your food. You need to work. I definitely know that even in my business, in our landscape business, we didn't always work for money. We traded services. We had this one customer who we had already done a project for them, and then we really wanted I wanted a beautiful mantle around my fireplace, and I wanted bookshelves, and he was a woodworker. So we traded. He got a beautiful round brick paver patio, and I got a beautiful mantle in my house, which set my house apart, because of course we had a house that was like a lot of other people's, but that mantle and that bookshelf made ours unique, and we did a wonderful trade in a barter situation. So I definitely know that and believe that it's not always, and I teach my children this, you might do something for somebody and you might not get paid right away, but always be working for your food and always plan on that. So when I think about a core value of mine, that is there, and other things come from that. Now, again, creating the opportunities for that to happen is the key part that I would be able to do in this role as state rep. Looking for ways, and that includes small and medium-sized businesses. That includes giving people some opportunities that they might not have thought that they had. Sometimes it's really just really encouraging people to step forward and saying, yes, you can do this. I'm not in support of free things. I'm concerned with the devaluing of something that's free, and even that is my story about that is my mom, when I used to tell her that her bachelor's degree that she earned in 1956, I think, was worth more as a bachelor's degree than most master's degrees now. Now, people pay more for the master's degree now than she paid for her bachelor's, but coming out of school, her bachelor's degree was worth more. I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't want to see that get any farther than it is right now. So I would like to have people that are invested in some other way. Now, maybe they're getting free college because they're giving somewhere else. They're working somewhere else and they're doing something else, but maybe they're not getting paid as well as they could. So there's some sort of a, I don't know, happy medium or something like that, where there is some of that. So I think that we have to, because we need people that want to go to school. And I've talked to a number of people actually recently who are telling me that they really want to go to school. And I'm like, okay, so we need to figure out ways to make it happen. Free may not be it, because I don't know that the value is the same.
I see your view and perspective on this one. I mean, I've seen this perspective from the libertarians and also the Republicans. I mean, there's a similar stand. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, if you look at the system and society, sometimes somewhere, don't you think? I mean, we need to give them some playing field. I mean, some place. I mean, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I see one point from another libertarian I picked up from him. Is that if you give free, I mean, everybody would like to enroll into it, and they don't value it, and they may not graduate it. I mean, sometimes they can waste the resources, which is one point. I mean, I agree to some extent on that one. But at the same time, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, some people are not. I mean, everybody is equal. I mean, financially or socially or educational point, and some families are have a support system for education. So playing field is not same for everybody. So in those scenarios, do you think, I mean, we need to provide something, or what do you think of those scenarios?
I'm going to still hang on to, I don't know that I would ever support free. I spent all my life teaching my children, work for your food, work for your grades, work for your education, do the work. Does that mean that someone who really wants to, who is a great student and works really hard, shouldn't have a benefit, an opportunity to go to college? No, but let's figure out what that looks like. It may look different for Susie than it does for Joe or whatever, but again, there's got to be a shared investment. And I've said this even in my own business. One of the things we talk about is, like, as a coach, I might be 100% invested in my relationship as a coach with my client, but if they're only 50% invested, it's not going to work. And I won't take a client on if they don't invest at least 100%. We have to come to the table to the same degree of effort. Otherwise, it's not going to work out that good for either of us.
Gotcha. I got you. I got your point of view on this particular thing. Thank you very much. And I'd say my healthcare system is another topic, I mean, which I brought up in the topic of healthcare, and especially mental health is another issue, which is also creating trouble, bringing some trouble in the guns, mental health with the guns. That's another topic. So what is your view and what is your idea? And so you are running also on the mental health issue. So what is your issue or agenda? And you can explain that one, and we can get into the details later. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I would like to see, in a brief sense, I would like to see mental health as preventative medicine, not reactive. I would like to see it earlier in people's lives. I would like to see the opportunity that even maybe parents, when they have their children, when they first have children, that there's an opportunity to give them training on coping. We all know, most of us who have had children know that having children and all of that can be one of the most stressful periods of our life. And it's the most rewarding but it can also be the most stressful. Add to it that you've got to carry a job, and you've got to make sure that you're paying, keeping the lights on and all these other things, and you're also working with all these other people. There's a lot of stresses that we might not feel stressed, but our bodies and our brains are taking on that stress. So I would like to see mental health more as a preventative medicine and tied in better with physical. We have a lot of physical preventative medicine and proactive medicine that we do for our physical bodies. I think we need to make sure that we are teaching and providing that opportunity on the mental level, because our mental health, from my experience, can actually have even greater impact on our physical health and how we fight our illnesses or whether we get illnesses. And so that's one of the things that I would really like to see change. I've actually had the opportunity to talk to a number of social workers and different people that actually work with teenagers, and when teenagers that are threatening suicide and teenagers that are on drugs. And I shared this thought with them. Actually, it was a couple of years ago before I even decided to run. I was talking and saying, what would it be like if we had this? And I was amazed. Every one of them was like, oh my gosh, if we could get that in, if we could get mental health as a preventative and a proactive, and we were teaching people earlier on how to cope with things and deal with life, oh my gosh, so much would change. And that was long before I actually knew that I'd be stepping into this candidate role and maybe have an opportunity to influence that and make an impact there.
So very nice. So the mental health is no doubt in the US. In other parts of the world also is important, but in the US especially it's been important in connection with the amendment to, second, our freedom to have the guns or own the gun. There's another issue which we have. Right to own the guns or right to protect. Especially right to protect yourself is giving you the right to have own a gun. So that one with the mental health has created a lot of issues in our society. So what is your stand on the what do we need to do with your second right, and between the second right and the safety of the community? We have seen many mass shootings in the schools, mass shootings in the public, at theater or a mall, and these kind of things. So, and that also some of those cases were related to the mental health issues with the candidate who has executed those things. So how do you see these two? Is there any connection between these two, or do you think these two are independent, or what do you think?
So are you asking if I think mental health and Second Amendment go together somewhat?
Is that, in a relationship, do we need to have the Second Amendment? I know, most Republicans and libertarians, obviously, they say it is, we have to have it. As long as it is safe, it is fine. Some people say it, but so what do you think? What is your stand on, let us split it this way. Second Amendment, what is your stand on the Second Amendment? Sorry.
So in a general sense, the Second Amendment, I am a Constitution. I do support the Constitution. I actually believe our forefathers did a great job with both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and I believe that those are a big part of why we have been such a peaceful country for the most part, and we've been a thriving country for so long. I believe that that's a big part, and I strongly support them. Michigan, U.S. Constitution, I strongly support them, and I think they need to be upheld. And I think it's what allows all of us to be able to live with some of all these freedoms that we could take for granted take for granted. And if we don't learn to not take them for granted, I think we could have more trouble. So I definitely support that. As far as the mental health connection, this is where the stress part comes in. I think we need to be looking at stress in that preventative way, because it does take a toll on the body. It takes a toll over time, and it's not something that people can see, feel, or hear necessarily in the early stages of it. And I think we need to look at stress as being something that is a very debilitating illness. How that plays into Second Amendment, I'm not 100% sure how I would handle that. I know that there are already some regulations that would indicate that if someone has certain diagnoses, they would not be able to get a gun. I do know that. But that would be something that I'd have to probably take a deeper dive in, that I have not taken a deeper dive in, to see how that plays out and see what would need to be done, because it is a balance. We don't want negative things to happen, with the person, and as you know, obviously it's the person that holds the gun, but we need to make sure that we are looking at giving people the support that they need so that they are caring for their mental health. And it goes back to who gets the freedoms in our country. Are there, is everybody equal really, or what that all means? And I think that's it's not always easy to answer.
I got you. Okay, that's fair enough. On your stand on that particular point, and at the same time, we cannot clearly say that people have to be cautious and safe. We have theories from both sides, so it is sometimes really challenging to go by what exactly is right or wrong for a situation. So one time it can be right, another time it can be wrong. I don't want to go to the philosophical side. Let's get back to the track on this one. Yeah. But you brought up another point. I'm diverting a little bit. You said the stress is for sure is going to bring toll on your body. Health. I did a totally different topic. I was talking to another gentleman on the other show. They clearly said that stress releases a few hormones which will be harmful to the body, and also it shuts down your immune system. It's not from me. I would say if somebody has time, go to the YouTube and look for Dr. Lipton Bruce. He is a doctor, and he said how stress is impacting your health. So it will be more clear than me saying it. So I would leave it that way. Go and check his video. It will be more helpful for you guys. So coming back to our politics. So your husband is a teacher, and you're in the education profession. So today the hot topic is, do we need to open the schools or send the kids back to the school? So what is your stand on that?
And I will clarify, actually my husband is not a teacher yet. He actually got his teaching degree and all this stuff, but he actually did not step into teaching, which is kind of interesting since this year changed everything. And so now he's actually doing some other things. But I would very much like to see the kids go back face to face. I think it's really important. I've been watching, obviously I have young children, and I've been watching their school, and our school is very supportive of face to face, but we're obviously watching everything to where it's going on. I struggle with some of the decisions that are being made, but at the same time, I do want people to be safe, and I don't want anything to get in the way of my kids seeing their teacher's face. I want the teachers to be able to see the kids' face. So we need to go face to face, and we need the kids to have the experience and the education, which is not just in the books. It's not just reading in the books. It's all of it. There is a whole part of education that we could miss if we just focus on just the academic portion of it. And that's the thing with education in general. My husband and I talk about that even then. Here he wants to be a phys ed teacher, but phys ed's only required up until like 7th grade or something like that, or 8th grade, I think. And then after that, it's a choice. And we're like, wait a minute, that physical health part of education is so vital. We can't miss these. We have to make sure that we're including music and art and phys ed and all of these other social elements of education if we're going to create people that care for people, that see people for people. So all these things actually go together, and I don't want to lose that.
I understand. You need to the holistic approach for the education. But how do you balance between the education and the safety right now, which we have, because some people are vulnerable, and the schools kind of will be a place where people can spread the virus. So how do you balance between these two?
It kind of goes back to my first question as to why this particular virus was the one. Why did this one require the treatment that it did? When we look at when I look at the numbers that are being put out there for us to look at, and I'm doing the math, and I'm doing this, and granted, people will tell me, they're like, well, I'm not a doctor. That's true. But I do know math, and I do know how to compare math of one virus compared to another virus. And that's why I keep saying, what is different about this one that makes it different, that if you just do straight math, or you just look at the straight numbers and things like that, even the science part of it, if you just look at things, what's causing this one to be so different than all these other ones, which seem to be as prevalent or more prevalent? And it goes back to the why. And I can't answer the why without asking without understanding what was made, what the decisions were made. I have to admit, I'm not seeing it. I wish I could say that I'm seeing why this one is different, because I'm not seeing it, other than someone just says it is. And one of the questions I've asked people, I said, think about this. I said, you've got doctors, and you've got elected officials, and you've got scientists who all take the same oath. They take the oath of do no harm. Why, if they're not agreeing, how do we decide which one's accurate, which one's not? How do we decide which one's giving us the good information, which was not, if they're all trying to do no harm, but they're not agreeing? I'm not saying I can answer that question, but I am saying that if we don't ask those questions, if more people don't ask those questions, tell us, be transparent, be accountable, tell us more information, because we actually are really wise people. The American people are very wise. We actually have the ability, with good information, to make good decisions.
Gotcha. That's fair enough on that, your opinion and your perspective, and also you brought in some points to think about the situation. When you talk about education in Michigan, there is another thing which is not that great. In Michigan, schools are good, but not every school is great. Performing good. So, what is that? If you are elected, what is that you would like to do to improve or increase the efficiency of the schools?
I would like to see teachers and parents more involved with raising the bar of education rather than government. I would like to see a bigger play in how parents, because I believe ultimately it's a parent's responsibility to be sure their children are educated. When we have children, we take on a responsibility, and it's our responsibility to make sure that our children are educated. I believe that free education, or all the education opportunities, and the teachers are a huge benefit to us. And it's a great benefit to be able to take advantage of that, so that we as parents can work or do other things. We're not all teachers. Even though it's our responsibility to be sure our children are educated, we're not all teachers. And so I think that there's an opportunity to work better together between teachers and school systems. And I would like to see the government pulled back a little bit, so that, and again, I'm speaking a little bit from the fact that this is what I understand. As I move into being a state rep, I may get a different idea and understanding, but from what I understand, there's a lot of government control in testing and all of these things, but I don't know that testing raises the bar of education, and I would like to see the bar of education raised in the right way, so that kids are desiring to learn. I want to help kids learn to want to learn, to desire to learn, and I think that needs to look a little bit different, and I don't know that testing is the right way.
Gotcha. Do you want to say bring up any other topic to your constituents, or any other topic to the audience right now?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard that. I think we talked a little bit about small business. We talked about that. I'm trying to think of any other hot topic for. I know you mentioned the roads earlier.
Yeah, I just skipped it. If you want to talk about the road, because you're not in the office, so I didn't bring that one. Yeah. No,
well, I laugh because as we are all driving around our Michigan roads, we're still seeing the roads amidst everything. Yeah. We're still driving and we're still on the roads. And I've heard people say, well, the elected officials need to stop talking about the roads. They need to do something else. And so but I realize I'm definitely one of those people that says, I want people to be able to live peacefully and comfortably, taking care of their families, working their businesses, working in their jobs, having fun, being outside, playing and things like that, enjoying that. And I want them to be able to trust that their elected officials are doing the things that are needed to keep that peaceful, to keep that going. And if that means that we need to do a better job taking care of the roads, if that means we need to do a better job being transparent and being accountable. One thing I can say is I signed the tax reform pledge. I did sign the tax reform pledge. I would like to do what I can to find out, to see why towns aren't getting the money they need. That's what I've heard. I understand that some towns are not getting the money that they're supposed to be getting, and I want to make sure that I'm looking at the numbers and finding out where the money is. I'm pretty anal when it comes to money, and I want to make sure that I can look at that and help people, have the money they need for their towns and things like that. And so that's an important part. And if that means finding money for roads, then we need to find money for roads. I definitely want to see that happen.
Gotcha. So why one more point? I mean, why do you think the people should vote for you against your opponent? I mean, Kevin. I mean, he's an incumbent. I mean, he's already in the office.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The biggest thing for me that I can speak for myself is that I do understand what it means, and I can't speak for anyone else. I speak for myself. I want people to be able to trust me. I want them to know that I really do care and I really am listening, and that their situation matters. And I will do what I need to do to make sure that people are able to live that freedom. And I actually believe that sometimes people just get used to the status quo. They get used to just seeing things go the same way over and over, and they work in spite of it, and their lives, they can manage their lives, they can get through their life in spite of it, but it might not be as vibrant as it could be. And I want them to know that that's my passion as a life coach, as life and personal and business coach, which is what I spent the last almost 10 years doing. It's about helping people thrive, helping businesses thrive, and helping people thrive. That we don't have to just sit for the status quo. We don't have to have the same thing happen over and over again. There are people out there that will care and really hear them, and then be able to figure out the solution that makes sense, and get the people on board to support it, so that we can do what the solution's needed. And again, transparency, accountability, and then leading people to be able to make those good decisions. As they may be hard, but the good decisions is what I'm hoping people will see, that they can trust me.
Very nice. So if somebody wants to involve in your campaign, how do they can reach you? I mean, where they can see more information about you? Can you tell about that, please?
Yep. My website is emilybauman.com, and they can reach me there. My telephone number is 248-509-4744, and my email is Emily, the number 4, mistaterep@gmail.com. That may be changing here soon with my website, but right now that's how they can reach me. And I do have a Facebook page as well, Emily Bauman for State Representative, and they can reach me for all of that. And definitely I ask people to check out my website. For people that know me, there's actually an opportunity they can actually go on and endorse me right on the website. They just give me the information, and we can get that uploaded, which is really cool. So.
Okay. So any message or anything you want to say to the audience? Or
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on to the show, Ms. Emily Bauman, and we wish you all the best in your run. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.